LSU Pro Day will be tomorrow. Michael Bynett, the SID for LSU, announced and sent out a formal announcement today in reference to LSU's Pro Day that will be going on tomorrow. Let me read you off the list of names. Obviously, you know who these guys are that will be participating in Pro Day, but nevertheless, here it is. Sevyn Banks, Micah Baskerville, Jared Bernard-Converse, who I saw at practice Saturday. Jared's my guy, man. I love me some Jared Bernard-Converse. Kayshawn Booty, Anthony Bradford, Joe Fouché, Mekhi Garner, Ali Gay, Todd Harris, Jeray Jenkins. Who? BJ Ojolari, Kobe Richardson, Jaqueline Roy, Tremont Shorts, and Jay Ward will all be participating in the player measurements, vertical jump, broad jump, 40-yard dash, pro shuttle, L drill, bench press, and any position workout. So looking forward to that. I don't think that we're going to be able to go tomorrow. I forget I had four calls back to back. I don't even know what I was saying. All right. So let's talk about this. So obviously, you know, and I know, and the good Lord knows that Jamar Cain left LSU for reasons that he, like I said last night, like it's going to continue to be told to you, just a situation in Denver that he couldn't pass up. But for me, guys, I just think it's time to move on. Thank you, Jamar Cain, for everything that he's done. But what else can we do at this point other than moving on and looking for a new D-line coach? Here's an interesting thing, though, and I think that we need to talk about this defense more in depth. So, look, 2021 LSU defensively was horrific. Guys, they were not good. For most of the season until Durante Jones had the reins released from him. Guys, LSU was almost dead last in not only the SEC, but the NCAA. You finished close. You finished in the 90s when it comes to total defense. You were horrible on third down. You were horrible on fourth down. You were horrible on defensive scores. You were horrible giving up first downs. You were horrible giving up in red zone defense. You were horrible getting to the quarterback. You were horrible on scoring defense. And you were damn near last in the SEC in rushing defense. So let me say this. Under Matt House, you improved all of that instantly. You are 41st in total defense. Some of these stats aren't going to be too good, though, and we'll talk about those. You were 19th in fourth down defense. You were 71st in giving up first downs. You were 71st again on total third down defense. You were 40th in red zone defense. You were 80th in sacks. Here's a great number, though. You were 31st in the country when it comes to scoring defense, but you were 63rd in the country when it came to rushing defense. Guys, I think it's time that we have a very serious conversation, okay? Some of these things got to get better. Now, I understand that Matt House was not playing with a full deck. What do I mean by that? You know what I'm about to go into. He didn't have the depth. He didn't have the roster that he needed to run what I would say is his most effective defense, right? You didn't have defensive linemen that you could rotate. And to that point, neither did Jamar Cain. Who is going to run out there? A hurt Quincy Wiggins, a freshman who's not ready to go? No, he can't do that. The best, what some people believe, and we have to see it this upcoming season, the best maybe interior defensive lineman not named Jalen Carter in the SEC went down in the opening drive against Florida State and Mason Smith. Some of these things you can't necessarily blame Matt House, Jamar Cain, this defense, and nor am I even remotely trying to do that. However, there are some things that LSU has to get better at, and why I think you need to go after two specific defensive line coaches. Here's one of them. Guys, you can't be 80th in sacks. You just can't. Somebody asked me today on YouTube, they were asking the simple question, well, Blake, why do you keep saying you have to get interior pressure? Harold Perkins was great. Yeah, Harold Perkins was really good. You're 80th in sacks, though, bud. You're 80th in sacks. That's not going to work out. elite defenses, not named Georgia, stop comparing yourself to Georgia for just a quick minute, have to find ways and creative ways to get themselves to the quarterback, a.k.a. 2011 LSU. Tyrann Mathieu coming up the slot makes a lot of remembrance in my mind. That's one. Third down defense, you got to get better. You're being 71st in third down defense. You gave it up 39% on third down, 78 of 200. We've already gone through that at length. Here's the biggest thing, the two biggest things for me. Number one is giving up just first downs, either that being on first down, second down, third down, whatever. You just giving up first downs. Guys, LSU was 71st again. They gave up 118 first downs on the ground. 118. 127 through the air. 19 penalties led to first downs for the opposing team as well. That's way too many. Way too many penalties for you to give the opposing team first downs. You can't let that happen. 264 first downs is not good at all. It's not good at all. You got to get better on third down defense. How do you do that? Well, you can look at the A&M game. You got to beef up front. You got to get big beef in here, pause, but you got to get more dudes that you can rotate in on third and short and that can get after the ball carrier. Another thing, on third down, you got to get that interior pressure, because when the quarterback can't step up into the pocket and you have a guy like, I think he's going to start and play a lot, like a Deshaun Womack, like an Ovi, like a Harold Perkins, things start getting really bad for quarterbacks. Third down defense, you talk to any head coach, Brian Kelly included. I've been to a lot, if not all, but a lot of Brian Kelly's press conferences. And you know what? The one thing that he will tell you every single week if you listen, we got to get off the field on third down. We got to stay on the field on third down. I would almost guarantee it from a statistical and analytical standpoint, it is the number one thing that he looks at when he looks at a box score. Damn, we went 10 of 15 on third down. Well, no wonder we came back and beat Ole Miss. Talked about that in his press conference so many months ago. That's not the biggest win for me. And why I'm tying this defensive line coaching search into this. You ready? Guys, LSU was 63rd in the country on rush defense. 63rd in the country in rush defense. Went outside of 2020 and 2021. Outside of those two seasons. Outside of them. When has LSU ever been 63rd in the country in rush defense? You can blame Jamar Cain. You can blame Ed Orgeron. You can blame Durante Jones, Bo Pelini, Matt House, Brian Kelly. It doesn't matter who you blame, because at some point there's been, let's count them out, Ed Orgeron, Brian Kelly, Jamar Cain. They will have a new defensive line coach. I'll even throw Gerald Chapman in there for just a quick minute. You had Bo Pelini. Guys, Durante Jones. You've had so many coaches at LSU under the standpoint of a lot of these guys since 2020. Guys, that's been since 2020. Whether it be head coach, DC, or D-line coach, that have come in and out of that building at LSU. And since 2020, it hasn't gotten better. It just simply has not gotten better when it comes to rush yards per rush defense, which actually, believe it or not, was a little bit worse at times this past season than it was the year before. From a statistical standpoint, you got to get better there. And that's why I say to all of you, and said this last night, you want to know why you go out and spend $1.8 million in a buyout for Bo Davis at the University of Texas, as an example, is because of the simple, and I don't know if it's him, this is an opinion piece. The reason that you go out there and you spend that kind of money is simply due to the absolute simple nature that you got to be better at getting after the quarterback, and you have to be better at stopping the run. There's no debates here, guys. It's not like I have a magic wand and say, this is an opinion piece, which it is, but the stats don't lie. You got to get better there. You can't blame the offense for the defense being 63rd in rush. You can't blame the offense when you're 80th in sacks. You can't. Here's the great thing, though. You ready? You want to talk about a bend, don't break defense? LSU was the epitome of it, because I talk about all these things. They can't get off the field. Their sacks aren't that great. Their rush defense isn't that good. How crazy is it that their red zone defense, though, would be the one thing that everybody would lock in and focus? And LSU was the 31st ranked scoring defense in the country. That will get better because all of these other things will get better too. Now, I thought midway through the season after Tennessee, this defense really locked in and did some really good things. But the second half against Alabama, when you went up against Florida as an example, A&M, late in the season, Georgia, and the SEC championship game, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. You got to get better there. But I do like that when push came to shove, you were 31st in the country and scoring defense. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You want to know why you go and spend the money for an Elijah Robinson? Another opinion, not sourcing, just opinion piece. LSU lost 4 games last year. I'm going to throw out Florida State because of you lost Mason Smith. It was the first game under Brian Kelly. I don't want to hear those excuses really in the comments as to why Blake, you can't put Florida State in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out. So then that leaves you with 3 more losses. Listen to this. Guys, you lost to Tennessee. You gave up 263 rushing yards. 4 guys on that team, 4 players on Tennessee's team had 5 yards per carry or more. 4. 4 different athletes and players for Tennessee had a rush yard average of 5 yards or greater. Guys, you do that in college and you have enough carries, you're going to New York. You gave up 263 yards. Your next loss, Texas A&M. You gave up 274 rushing yards. Devon A-Chain had 38 carries, 251 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, and 2 TDs. Should I keep going? Georgia. Blake, Stetson Bennett ate us alive through the air. That's also true. But you know what else happened? You gave up 255 rush yards on the ground on 41 carries, which is 6.22 yards per carry. You want to know what I think my opinion piece is? This defense has to get better defending the run. Jamar Cain in year 1 can't fix that completely. But now that you have more depth there, guys that can rotate like Jalen Lee and Parashand and others, guys like Savion Jones, who I think should have been starting above Ali Gay last year to start off with, and you get Mason Smith back, you're going to get better in that area. But you want to know why Saban does what he does? Because he looks at stuff like this. If you think Saban's cream pie eating ass is not reading statistics like this, when he sees teams like LSU fall, how did they fall? Why did they fall? What happened to them? And he sees 263 rush yards against LSU, 255, 274. He goes, yeah, they ran the ball on them effectively. You know, you could also flip that. You know, it's interesting that Nick Saban goes out and gets Tommy Rees, right? You know why I think he does that? You know what the simple nature of why I think he does that? Because I think we're reverting back to a more not simple. I still think you're going to be spread, obviously. I still think people are going to run RPOs, obviously. I still think that a lot of things are going to happen that will stay the same. Teams in the SEC are getting back to running the football from a statistical standpoint. Guys, I just rattled off one of your 3 losses. Here's an interesting thing for LSU, though. You ready? Remember when you were down to Ole Miss 17-3 going into the second quarter? or technically you were down 14-3, but second quarter started, Ole Miss kicked a field goal. You're down 17-3. You want to know how you came back? Now, did Jane Daniels have a long bomb that Jeray Jenkins had to kind of save him on from it not being an interception, catch, touchdown? Yes. Here's how you come back from beating a team when you're down 17-3 and your first quarter was abysmal. LSU had 252 rushing yards. That's how Ole Miss lost. You see where I'm going here? Do you see where I'm going here? I'll make it all come sense in just a minute. 187 rushing yards for LSU against Alabama. Mississippi State. Remember, Zach, if I'm not mistaken, LSU was down in that game as well. But you know what happened? You had 207 rushing yards. So I don't want to hear anything about you having to go out and spend money and be LSU and do what you need to do, everything that you need to do to get the best man in here for the job. Mosquito. I don't care what has to happen, but you cannot be 63rd in the country giving up 71st in the country giving up third downs. You can't give up 181 rushing attempts to give up on first downs. You can't have games against Texas A&M where you're giving up 274 rushing yards, 263 from Tennessee, and 255 from Georgia. Georgia, the reason they reign is because they stop teams running the football and they get after your rear end. It's how Alabama did it, and you know who else did it? It's how LSU did it, and why they're tied for second in the last 20 years in national titles. Guys, over the last 20 years, in the year of our Lord Jesus Christ of 2023, you started this run 20 years ago. It's the summer of the run that you will make 20 years ago. Stupid mosquito. Get out of here. Things drive me absolutely insane. You made your run 20 years ago this year. It's not like we all come up with this thought and saying, oh, I think. You know what teams are doing good and winning national titles? Teams that can do the simple things. Get off the field on third down, run the football, and stop the run. Now, do you need sometimes a very electric quarterback play in today's society? Absolutely. I'm not disregarding that in the slightest. Not even remotely in the slightest am I saying that you don't need really good and elite quarterback play. But teams that stop the run, get off the field, and stay on the field on third downs and can stop the run are winning national titles. Ask Georgia. Ask Clemson in 2018. You know what LSU's best defensive statistic was in 2019? Stopping the run.